welcome to the attendees we have joining here. These are the experts we have on today's call. Mandy Wells is our PagerDuty developer advocate. You'll start seeing her on various social channels such as Twitch and hosting other events. My name is Forrest Evans. I'm the Director of Product here for the Rundeck Enterprise product. Greg Schuler's our lead developer, architect, and also one of the original co-founders of the Rundeck project. Back, how many years ago was that, Greg? 9?
Oh boy, yeah.
9?
2010, yeah.
And we also have a couple gentlemen from our field engineering team, Adam Baran, Dutch Rapley, and Sebastian is lurking in the audience, and he's going to be posting some of our questions that might have been pre-submitted. And Tracy likes to call me the host, but really she's the magic behind the scenes, hosting and putting all of these together for us. And she's probably going to kill me for putting her picture on here.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I didn't authorize that, but we'll listen.
So let's get into some of our questions that we have. Looking at briefly attendee list, I said Ben Lapham, I see you joined and had submitted a question ahead of time about seeing a demo. This particular webinar isn't focused on a demo. We are going to do some stuff in Rundeck. There are a couple ways to demo. I think that there's some demo events that come up regularly. We're happy to set up a demo with one of our sales engineers. But there are also welcome projects available to the public. So if you want to check it out in more of a self-guided way, if you go to our docs site at docs.rundeck.com, there's a learning section here. And the learning section has a tutorial that you can walk through. And there are these welcome projects, Docker projects that you can download. So for example, this community one, you can come and download the latest release here. We just had a new release just the other day. But you can download the zip file, run it in Docker, and then walk through the learning tutorial. It'll give you kind of the basic overview. There's a variety of other how-tos out here on this site as well. There's another question coming up where we talk about a specific one, but this will show you some of the various things on how to do things. And for a general just kind of use case and overview, there is also our resources.rundeck site that has I think it even has these past webinars recorded, but a lot of other webinars and videos recorded under the video section. So that's a lot of great places to get example and explainer videos and things to see with Rundeck. If there's something specific you're interested in demoing or learning more about a particular interaction or use case, you can throw another question in the Q&A. So let's get into a few more of the questions that we had previously. The first question that I will bring up is fairly technical in case the person is on the call, and it's also quite long, but it relates to running an Ansible playbook in Rundeck and that they're getting some random errors. So I think Dutch was going to comment on this question submitted by Slebos.
Yeah, so the issue that the question that was posed was an error that came down to essentially an Ansible error that comes from running an Ansible playbook through Rundeck that states the module in question, the issue with it often indicates a misspelling, missing collection, or an incorrect module path. And what's interesting about the issue that comes up is, running it from the command line on the Rundeck server, it never creates the error. But when it happens on the Rundeck server, or from running an Ansible playbook through Rundeck, it's not consistent. There's random at times. When we have inconsistency and issues like this, it makes it really hard to reproduce and really hard to troubleshoot. And so it's really can't give a clear answer on it right now, but a couple of questions that I would have for the person that submitted the question is.
They are on the call. There's some updated information. Sorry to interrupt you in the chat. If you're looking at the Zoom chat, maybe there's some additional information there.
Oh, excellent. Okay, I'm taking a quick second to review it.
Okay, in the meantime, I'll answer a quick question that someone else had that's on our list here that Sebastian's been putting in. There was a question about how I send a list of all the jobs of a current project as a property to a step. And the approach that some of our team came up with is just calling the Rundeck endpoint or the API endpoint. And there's the opportunity to list jobs using that API endpoint. I will put a link to that documentation page in the chat here. And then we would combine that with a log filter, the JQ log filter, and store the result in some variables for use later. Dutch, you can let me know when you're ready. Jump back in, or if you're still processing.
Move along. I'm still processing.
Okay.
Thank you.
The next question was around whale logs. We've just installed Community 3.4.0. Getting whale of a log issue. Well, it's not an issue. It's actually by design, and do not have any means to see the log, please advise. So I have an example of this, and I will switch my screen. We were just actually talking about this beforehand. And we ran a job. I created a job that was an example of a whale job, which a whale log just means the log size got too big. And in order to keep Rundeck, performant on the screen, we don't show logs that go over, I think the level's about 8 or 10 megs. So when we come in here and see that this log output, we hit 11.67. So that is a whale size of a log. And you can select the download option. So the particular concern in this question was, how do we download this? It is a little bit misleading. The screen kind of jumps down and just shows you the log. But if you scroll up just a little bit, it is over here. You can download the formatted text of this whole log, and it's going to download that 11 meg file. In order to generate this, ironically, we just catted out Moby Dick, the book, enough times to generate a great big log file. So the download link is a little bit hidden. We're going to take, and we discussed earlier, the feedback that maybe we need a little bit more deliberate download link in the screen down here. So we will iterate on that and take the feedback that it was not easy to find, because it wasn't easy for some of us to find. We had another submission in our pre-work kind of questionnaires or pre-submitted question that just said Rundeck installation. So we would kind of need a little bit more information. I think we've covered the questions from the two folks that are on. So generically, Rundeck installation, there's a ton of installation docs on our documentation website, again at docs.rundeck.com. Administration installation. We can install in a variety of ways. You can run it in Docker. There's Dev and RPM packages. You can run it straight as a jar file. It's supported on Windows, run it as a Tomcat war. Lots of different ways, lots of different database configurations that are supported and work. So Rundeck installation is pretty flexible. So let us know what else. There are instructions out here for AWS. We're going to have forthcoming more instructions around Azure and others. Looks like Dutch is helping troubleshoot over there in the chat on the other one. So we've covered all of the pre-questions. We had one other question that came up last week. We weren't able to continue. So they asked, I'm trying to manage Windows nodes, but not sure how to set up everything I need. And we actually just on Tuesday with our 3.4.2 released a new how-to article about this topic. So how to run jobs on Windows nodes. And this article will step by step walk you through everything that would need to be configured to execute commands against a Windows node. I was able to test it successfully against a Windows 10 node and using my welcome projects. Took a little bit of creativity because those are running in Docker, but the steps are all here on our in our how-to section, along with a variety of other things. If you want to use Terraform or you want to figure out how to integrate with PagerDuty, or there's even a document out here on the Ansible configuration. I'm not quite sure what's going on. There's lots of good conversation going on in the chat with Dutch. But our how-to section is growing there. If there's something else that's not covered here, always welcome to join us on our community forums. They're at community.pagerduty.com, and there's a Rundeck specific forum where you can keep up with announcements. You can talk about some new incubating features that we just released with 3.4.2, as well as, you know, any other topic that might want to.
Ed, this is Dutch. I just want to add, I want to take that Ansible question offline and potentially come back with that during the next Ask the Experts webinar next month.
Okay.
Because I don't think we can get a resolution on this call.
Would starting a post in the community forums help, you know, just troubleshooting through that communication
It
medium?
would.
Or do you gonna do an email, or how do, when you say take offline?
I'll take it offline with Allegan and follow up with him, and then we can address it on next month's session.
Okay. And there's one more question in the Q&A. I tried Rundeck Enterprise with Active Directory authentication. The authentication works, but not the ACL. I see the roles to my users at the connection, but when I try ACL with the dock, it doesn't work. Can you help? Anyone else on the team want to take this one?
I guess I could talk a little bit about how it is supposed to work. I'm not clear what the real problem is here, but basically when you use Active Directory authentication, the configuration for it lets you define what groups in your directory should map to roles, and those roles will become the authorization roles that the user gets once they logged in. So if the ACL is not working, basically that means there's probably a mismatch between the roles that are defined in the ACLs and the roles that are seen in the user's authorization levels. So actually, Forrest, if you go to your user profile under the little user link, yeah, profile, it'll show under that, sorry, I was saying roles, but I mean groups. It'll show under that groups column there for your user account what groups are actually being seen by Rundeck after you get authenticated. And those should be the groups that you use in the ACL definitions to actually correctly map authorizations for those users. You can also do it by username if that's sufficient, but usually people use the group name. So it sounds like he says, I see the roles to my users at the connection. And try the ACL with the dock, it doesn't work. I'm guessing that there's just got to be some mismatch between what roles or groups are defined in the ACL versus the groups that are actually seen once you authenticate. And if you don't see any groups under that column in the user profile screen, that indicates that the authorization, the Active Directory authentication part isn't correctly getting the list of groups that you're in after you authenticate. So you would have to change your configuration for Active Directory to make sure it's correctly looking up the correct directory groups for the user account.
We do have on our sort of learning site how-to lists to include a document on configuring authentication against Active Directory as a step-by-step how to do this. So keep an eye out for that as well.